Good morning. It's a beautiful, clear day today, clear blue skies with the occasional white cloud, fluffy clouds, and it's a beautiful, bright spring morning. How are you? I just thought I'd share some thoughts with you about what I've been going through the last week or so. This time last week, I just heard about my father's passing, transition, whatever you would like to call it, and I just was left feeling quite numb, even though I'd been through the scenario so many times over the last few years where he's been hopping in and out of hospital and had numerous conditions. It still does strike you as it makes you feel kind of numb. I feel like in the first little while that I was definitely in denial of this. So a week later, I feel like I'm suddenly taking stock of what's actually happened. It's actually starting to sink in, and different memories are starting to surface about him. You know, the crazy adventures we had, the kind of pet names I had for him, and the reason I have my name Amanda, which comes from the ANC slogan, Amandla. And, you know, all of the things that he actually instilled in us and in me, and his legacy. He was such a big personality on so many levels, political, social, and, you know, on a personal level, he had such a huge impact on us all. Anyone who knew him, he had this kind of charismatic magnetism that you can't really put into words, and it's quite overwhelming when you meet somebody like that. It's like he's a legend, a sort of living legend. That's kind of how he was, and it kind of emanated this sort of feeling of kindness, of integrity, and he had this sparkle in his eye, even right till the end. I mean, the last time I saw him was a few months ago, and me and my friend went up to London on we called it a Dad 88 double trip. We went up to see our dads, who were both 88, and I'm so glad I did, because that was the last time I actually saw him. So he'd been in and out of hospital so many times that we just kind of got used to the idea he was going to pull through. But this last time he didn't. You know, it felt like there was something slightly different going on, that, you know, maybe he'd reached a point where his luck had kind of run out. And at first I was sort of at peace with it all, and I thought, yeah, he's around me. I can feel him, I can feel his energy, I can feel his spirit. You know, me being quite a spiritual person, I do believe that when we die, we go back to oneness and that sense of love and bliss, and we go home. You know, they do say that in this lifetime we're kind of, oh, there's my dog Aurora out in the front, we're walking each other home, aren't we? You know, and that's maybe what we're walking along this path, quite symbolic. So yeah, you know, death, I mean, you know, there's many different takes on death. You know, in Mexico they have the Mexican Day of the Dead, and then you have the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and I'm quite interested in Dion's you know, gateways to death. She's written a book about death as well, very similar to the Tibetan Day of the Dead. But I feel very much like, you know, his spirit, his soul is continuing. It's just a new chapter, it's a new journey. Maybe he's been upgraded, perhaps he will come back as a different animal or even another person. But it felt like his life was very full and very meaningful, and everybody who knew him would say the same thing about him. And, you know, he was inspiring on so many levels. In fact, he was the one that first got me really interested in having a dog, because he had this absolutely gorgeous pointer dog called Yasu, who, when I played my flute, he would sing along to my flute playing. And I think that's why I've got these lovely doggies here now today. So my dad was a very brave person, and he was a political prisoner, you know, in the time of apartheid. And in fact, we came over here to the UK in 1968. When I was 1 year old, we moved to Edinburgh because my dad was, although he had just finished his doctor training, he was not allowed to practice in, you know, South Africa, apartheid South Africa. So, you know, on many levels, my dad had such a colourful life. I had 6 children with 4 different mothers and was married 3 times, and twice to Janet and once to my mother, Dorothea. Anyway, thank you for listening to my little bit of spiel about my dad and, you know, death in general. And I hope you have a beautiful day. It's quite good to understand life. Sometimes we have to contemplate death, don't we? Anyway, lots and lots of love to you. I hope you're enjoying this glorious day, these lovely clouds and the blue skies. You take care. Thanks for watching.